Excited to be joined by a great group of panelists today. Nick, Shelby, and Jeff, welcome. Thank you so much. I'd love for you guys to give a brief introduction. Nick, if you want to kick it off and start with your introduction, and then we'll do Shelby and Jeff.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Nick Muzzati, Mallory, Goodshuffle team. Thanks for having me today. My company is called Snap Entertainment. We bring arcade games and photo booths to events. We're primarily based in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, DMV, but we do travel, all up and down the East Coast. And we've been Goodshuffle users for just over a year and a half now.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick.
And then I'm Shelby. I'm from Tremont Rentals. We do tent, tables, chairs, kind of stuff, west commercial events, all that good stuff.
And I'm Jeff Monroe with Monroe Enterprises. We are a full event production and rental company based out of Fresno, California. We service the California, Arizona, and Nevada markets primarily. Of course, we do travel beyond that, but we love Goodshuffle, and that's why we're here.
Awesome. So glad each of you are able to join us and really bring a bit of a unique perspective to the conversation today. As a salesperson at Goodshuffle, one of the things I hear so much from users coming over is, there are a ton of different options on the market. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your journey to Goodshuffle, maybe things that you were looking for in an event rental software and what really attracted you to the platform? Nick, you want to go ahead and get started with that?
Sure. Thanks, Mallory. So when I started looking about a year and a half ago, I was using a really antiquated system. And keep in mind, so I came from, and I like to speak to users that, we're a very small company. We came from the inflatable side of things, but we actually got out of inflatables about back in 2016. So coming from that background, I had a system that was pretty antiquated, but it did what I needed it to do, which was, inventory control. And as I booked events, it would, remove those things from inventory during that time. So as I started looking for new software, I had come across some other options, tried them out, tested them out. There were definitely some that were targeted towards the inflatable industry that I was aware of. But I couldn't really find what I wanted, which was something that felt newer. Something that didn't feel like it had been built, 10 or 15 years ago, and allowed for, all the features that I think should be available in any sort of booking software now, which, I can get into this later, but there were, features in Goodshuffle that I found that just fit my needs as a small, entertainment rental company. The funny thing was I came across Goodshuffle just from a Google search, and had actually participated in their marketplace much prior to that. And I wasn't even aware of both of those products when I finally came across the Goodshuffle booking software. And really it met my needs on a really basic level, which was, online contracts, being able to have those signed, digitally. I don't want to get too far into this right now. Users might have questions about this, but and once I tried it out, it just was really intuitive and a good fit. So nothing else that I had used felt like it could be really simple for me, but also obviously scalable for much larger enterprises. So simplicity and the ability to roll it out really quickly was just why I jumped on board, and it's met my needs ever since, as you guys have started to scale it up. So
that's awesome to hear. And I think the scalability of the platform is so important to our team. We've got users like you in the system that are managing a really niche inventory. And then Jeff, I'd love to kick it over to you because you've got like one of the most diverse inventory sets in Goodshuffle and really managing a really hefty SKU count. What were some of the things that you in particular were looking for when exploring different platforms?
Yeah, so we've bounced around a few times in the previous years. I've been doing this since I was 12 years old, so 27 years, do the math. And we've been all over the place. Currently, I am so happy. We have been, in the last probably 5 years, we've been through probably 3 softwares. And each time we transition to a new software, they don't always talk to each other. They don't always allow the import-export feature. So it's a lot of work. And I will tell you that, you know, there are some great programs out there, but for where we are, a lot of the programs are very difficult to understand, to comprehend, and specifically, you know, management can catch on to it, but then trying to teach a warehouse guy the ins and outs of a software can be very daunting. You know, the main thing with this software that I found is it's very, you know, it allows you to work with a small number of items, or for us, we have a little over 12,000 SKUs, which equate to about 250,000 items. And they're everything from, you know, tables and chairs and linens to arcade games and, you know, items that have lots of parts and pieces that need to make sure that they're accounted for going on a job. And this software, one, allows you to import it and control it very simply, but it also keeps track of all the parts and pieces, and it's very intuitive to a you know, user standpoint. So we love it because, as Nick mentioned, it's very 20th century, if you will. A lot of the companies that are out there, you know, haven't done a lot of updates to their look, and you know, we're in the event industry. Everything is very visual, so anything we can have to showcase, you know, an invoice or a product to a customer, and it makes it look like it's in the 20th century, for us is great. So, you know, definitely controlling a large amount of products is one thing that it does very well. It absolutely does, and we're happy with that. And photos and information and attributes to even put a weight on an item, which is super important when shipping across the country. So it's got a lot of features that we absolutely love, specifically with inventory.
That's awesome. Always glad to hear those great things. And Shelby, I'd love, you know, Jeff, one of the things you mentioned are the ability to track all of these different components. And that is certainly valid, I think, in any event industry. I think the most kind of obvious way, though, Shelby, is in the tinting industry, right? You're sending a 20 by 20 or a 40 by 60 tent, and the client just knows and understands, okay, this tent is getting to my event site. But how is Goodshuffle tracking, helping you track all those different, you know, parts and pieces, and without kind of exposing that level of detail to the client?
Yeah, so similar to what Nick said, we had a really antiquated system beforehand that basically just would have a line item that would say tent, 20 by 20, table, chair, XYZ, and that's it. But now we can have a 20 by 20, and that's what the client sees on the contract. But from our end, for our guys, they see this many pieces of, this many legs for the tent, this top, this style of top. Like, because we also, when the owners took over the company, they took it over someone else who bought from multiple different manufacturers. So making sure that everything kind of works together and we have the right pieces for the right tent for that job was really important. And the client doesn't see that, but my guys go to pull it. And I know it was really important because, like, I remember I used to get paperwork on an old system back, and they always would draw out like how many legs they need, how many of this piece they need, and so these drawings on the back of my paperwork. But now they don't need to, they save so much time without even just having to do that step or go look up in the book for the style of tent what they need to have if it's like a newer delivery lead or something like that. It's definitely just saves a ridiculous amount of time.
That's great to hear. Nick, Jeff, any other time-saving features that have just been a real winner for you and your team?
Yeah, quite a few. I'll jump in real quick. So we have all the integrations that you offer, that I'm aware of at least. We've got the QuickBooks integration. We've got the website integration. The website integration is awesome. It's simple. It's easy. It allows a client obviously to jump on and immediately get information, multiple pictures, and of course request a quote. So we love that ability to do that. But my favorite thing, since I'm in the office and I'm kind of the back office operations, is the integration with QuickBooks. It makes it stupid easy, is the easiest way to put it. We had a software prior that you had to hit a manual sync button. When you canceled something, you had to sync it, and oh, it's a nightmare. So this is a very, very easy way. Actually, I should say two things, both the integration with QuickBooks as well as the integration with the calendar. The calendar is awesome. When you throw out a quote or when you throw out an invoice or when something's actually booked, it will tell you you've got that on the calendar. And so for our team, that is really important because everybody obviously has cell phones. And anytime there's an update or a change, they obviously can see that and it's immediate. So those are the two things that I personally love and can't live without.
Love it.
I'll just chime in. I'm a pretty simple person, and I just love being able to get my money a lot faster. To me, it all comes down to cash. And one thing about Goodshuffle was how quickly the whole process of sign, collect, deposit. And so like that saved me a ton of time of trying to like, okay, now let me get the signature back. Okay, let's arrange a time for you to call me so I can get your credit card information over the phone, all that. That was a big time saving feature. I could be anywhere and those emails would come in and I'd be so happy. By emails, I'm referring to the ones that for the users that are, you know, people that are not users yet. So-and-so just paid you a deposit. So one of my favorite things and a big time saving feature for us. I mean, I'm a small operation. I'm sales, I'm the owner, I'm kind of doing a little bit of everything. So all that stuff really helps a lot.
Yeah, I think that's something that as I've been working with customers has been so cool to see, right? Like on the time saving portion or the money perspective, right? Wherever your kind of priority lies, and oftentimes it's both, right? I need more hours in my day and I want to get paid faster. Customers are able to really make the platform malleable to hit your goals. And our team actually kind of, Nick's talking about fast contracts. We did some running of the numbers on the back end. And currently, which Nick has experienced, 50% of contracts sent through Goodshuffle Pro are signed and deposits paid within 5 minutes of being opened, which is awesome. I mean, that ability for you not to have to play bill collector and chase down payments, chase down customers. You didn't get into, I can't imagine you got into the event space to play bill collector. So this helps you, prioritize those relationships with your clients. What about your teams? Obviously, as owner operators, the three of you are, really in the weeds with the features on a day-to-day basis. But tell me a little bit about some of the feedback that you've heard from the folks on your team about either, everything is so much easier, we have additional clarity. Shelby, you want to kick that off?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like every aspect of our team, because we're a pretty small company also. We have the two owners and a pretty tight-knit delivery crew, and then I kind of run the office end of things. And it has saved like people, like the comments of like, now with the Google integration, they don't have to text me every morning and be like, what's on our whiteboard calendar that we used to have? Like now, like you can see in the corner, we have a TV because we just have the Google calendar up on. And or like my delivery guys not having to go reference a book if one of the owners isn't around to tell them what to get, or the fact that we can just all pull up on our phones. Like I can be anywhere. Like I could be on vacation, I could be gone for the day doing personal things, and someone could text me like an emergency, like, hey, I need an update on this, and I can literally just pull it up on my phone. Because like my old system, it was all stuck on my desktop computer out here, and like even I become so much more appreciative of Goodshuffle, even though I loved it before. But with quarantine and everything, it would be impossible for me to do everything I've been able to do from home during this COVID-19 stuff without Goodshuffle. Like it just would have been 10,000 times harder to try to keep everything together and like keep everything streamlined and like get back to customers. So I think that like it's all like a moving process where like all of a sudden one day someone will be like, wow, this is really great, or like all the time you just find more things that it just makes your life easier than like the way that we used to do things. So
that's great to hear. Jeff, you were talking about before we hopped on a little bit about how your process has changed pre-Goodshuffle and then working to streamline things. Would you mind shedding some light on what that has looked like for your team?
I was muted, sorry about that. So before I jump into that, I will jump back just a little bit, and I'll let everybody else on the webinar know that when we first met, Mallory, I explained our processes and our multiple brands and all the different moving parts that we have. And the first thing that I think you were thinking was, holy moly, this guy's got a lot going on. And we do. But one thing that rings true is that our processes specifically have been very difficult. And that had a lot to do with the capabilities of our software. And so once I have become more comfortable and our team has become more comfortable with the Goodshuffle platform, it's really allowed us to simplify. I mean, that's been the biggest thing on such a large scale of inventory items and ways that we do things. And I mean, you can imagine the phone call when somebody calls, it could be somebody for a table and chair rental, or it could be somebody that wants a dance floor over a pool. I mean, the dynamic is completely crazy with our company. And what's nice about the software is it's allowed us to simplify. It's allowed us to say, okay, what are the main steps that it takes for any order to get it out the door all in one piece? And I think that anybody in the event industry will agree that if one little tent corner or part is left behind, I mean, you're screwed. And so that's been the biggest thing for us is that, hey, we need to make sure that we've got a platform that, that allows us to simplify these processes and get items out the door, whether it be a will call or a delivery in a much faster and simpler way. And that's kind of been the biggest thing for us is that we've looked at our overall, process of when we pick an item, where we put it, how it gets out the door, how we get it double checked. And kind of going back to what Shelby said, everything now is digital, right? So beforehand, we would print out a pick list. The pick list would go on the wall. And the problem with that is that if somebody changed something last minute and forgot to update the pick list, you're in a bind. So now everything is digital. We have a touch screen monitor in the bay, and the guys are literally able to touch items as they check them out, and it works really, really well. And then also beyond that, with Goodshuffle, we've given everybody an iPad that has cell phone service, and now everything is digital. Everything is available on the spot. They can take photos of any inventory items that may have issue. So really, it's taken a lot of that monotony of the paperwork and the changes really are the change orders are the hardest part. And so now that's all become digital and it's available to change on the fly. So yeah, that's really kind of helped us out a lot to just simplify that process.
That's awesome. I love the name of the game of keeping it much more simple because everyone is going a million different directions, and especially now having to respond to either, different guidelines or pivoting a process on the fly, being able to change that at the click of a button is awesome. Nick, tell me a little bit. I know at one of the local events in DC, we had talked about you kind of keeping in your pocket the ability to access basically your project sheet for what the week ahead looked like. And that in Goodshuffle Pro is going to live on what we call the project page. That's just a listing of all of the events. But shed some light on what you see basically in that one view, all of the information that you'd have access to.
So yeah, I used to print out a project sheet every week, and I'd have it folded up in my pocket with notes, and it was like I couldn't lose that thing, and I'd run around the warehouse. And has anybody seen this? Has anybody seen this? Because I needed it, and it lived in my back pocket all week long, and that's where I would do. This was early on, all my scheduling, who's going to work this event, things like that. And I remember talking to you, Mallory, and saying, that was one thing. When I first started using Goodshuffle, I didn't think that feature was kind of available. Something I could still physically print out if I needed it, or again, have it available digitally. But that was one thing I really needed. And she goes, well, we have that. And I go, well, oh, how do I get it? And she goes, you just go to your project list. And this is what I love. I can now go to my project list in Goodshuffle. And for those listening, if you haven't, you'll get the demo, but I can pick I can say, but I want to see this, this, and this, but I don't need to see that and that, because that's for before the event, or that's for the after the event. But I like to say I live my life 1 week at a time. So I need to see what's going on this week. And so I can still, what we do, if we feel like it, is we print this out on a Monday and we sit down as a team, when I had a team, and I will have my team back, but when we sit down as a team and we just go through each one, and we can even have, because there's something about, if you need it, having that physically printed in front of you just to talk about it. Well, because again, our events are, they're not just straightforward deliveries and pickups. Sometimes, we have attendants on site, or we have, our photo booth operators. So we need to sit there and just hash out weird little details like, well, how are we going to get from this one to this one? So that project list is something that I can customize for my needs. I might just want to see, on a given week, I want to know where it is, who the client is, what my, my delivery time is, what my event start time is. but I might still want, do I want to see the remaining balance? Maybe I do. And I want to say, okay, these are the people I need to touch base with this week. They have remaining balances, whatever. That project list is something that I can use for my week of events, but it's also something that I can say, all right, I want to start, comparing. It's what I also use to make comparisons month to month, year to year. I can then go in and I can build out this project list for what I want to see. Okay, I don't need to see the venue, the client email address. I just need to see, what was our contract subtotal, things like that. So then I can take that and I can export that into an Excel spreadsheet and start playing with the numbers. So that once you told me about that, Mallory, that was again these features and that's where they're always there to support you. You say, I wish it could do this, and they'll either tell you we're on it or yeah, I can already do that. So that was huge, and I'll tell you what, Mallory, I've used that a ton since we spoke at IAPA.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. And I'll give all our viewers at home a little bit of a preview of what Nick is referring to. I mean, truly on your events page, you've got access to any information that you would want here. Everything is sortable and based on any variety of information. I love the ability to connect with our users at either trade shows or in person or even through our website chat, because I think people go into Goodshuffle Pro having a sense of what it does, and then you get like on the train of, okay, it's working, and then we can help you get to level 2, level 3, master status of the program. Shelby, Jeff, any other kind of features or surprise and delight moments where you thought, man, I wish it could do this, and then it turned out we've got you covered, or any expectations that you had that were totally kind of rocked for the better once you guys got using Goodshuffle Pro?
I personally would have to say, and this is just going to be like for like the office people out there, but I remember being like, I hate reminding people about making payments. I absolutely loathe asking people for money. It's just gets so awkward, and you always hate being that person to make that call. But Goodshuffle has it automated, so you can set up, and it will just send them, be like, oh, it's 7 days prior, because we do 30% deposits, and then 7 days prior, the remainder balance is due. And so right at that 7-day mark, it just sends an automated email out that says it's automated, so customers don't think it's you bothering them. And it's like, oh, time to pay your bill. And then they literally the next morning, you'll get all the emails saying, oh, you've got your payments and stuff like that. And it's just taken that like one step that I would hate about like my Mondays, because I'm calling on my Friday deliveries and being like, hey, you got to pay us now. And it's just made like, it's sometimes the little things, but it's just like makes like all the little things add up to just a way easier and better season for us. So
yeah, and I mean, coming from an inventory standpoint, with our previous software, it integrated with WooCommerce, which is a WordPress front end storefront, and so there was really no way to assign attributes. Attributes are features of the product, so the weight, the height, the width. And so what we would have is within our website, we would have a title of a product that was, I mean, you can only imagine, you had to have your height, your width, it was crazy. And so what this software has allowed us to do is take all that mumbo jumbo out of the name and quite literally call it a Savannah table or what have you. And then you can assign it attributes, which are those particular items. So you take them out of the main title and assign it attributes, and then that way they're filterable. You can search by them. Our clients use the front end of our site a lot. In fact, I don't know, probably 30 to 40% of our bookings are done strictly by going online and placing an order. So for us, that's very, very important stuff. And, that was one surprise that once we got, diving into putting these 12,000 plus SKUs in, that we realized immediately, like, wow, this is going to really make life a lot simpler. And it has. But I will also say for those clients, or future clients to Goodshuffle, the number one thing that I seriously cannot get over is the customer service. They have a chat window on goodshuffle.com, and anytime you can reach out. I mean, this is crazy. Our previous software was based out of the Netherlands. We couldn't get software till midnight, and I was up till the wee hours of the morning talking to people about stuff. So the number one thing, anything that you have from a request, they seem to listen and really take it to heart and and think about it. They've already implemented a couple things that I've asked for since we've been on. So from a, wherever you're coming from, if you want love, these are the guys. I mean, they know what they're doing. So I definitely highly recommend them from a lot of different points, but definitely from a customer service point.
I definitely have to agree with that point. The customer service is like out of this world. Like our old system, we have to wait 2 to 3 days maybe to get an email or a call back, and like this is instantaneous. And when you're switching to a new software, there's like a million questions, from like the dumbest small thing to like something that's more complicated, and they'll like set up a call like that day with you if you need more help. Like they'll answer it right on the chat. Like it's literally crazy how good the customer service is.
I got to jump in and agree, because that was, I mean, no, seriously, as future users and as people we're in the event or service industry, if you're like me, you know the type of service you provide, and you have this expectation, and it's a lot higher, I think, than others, because of just what we do. And that's just Jeff, I agree with you. The chat window, like anytime I have an issue or a problem or something seems off, I just pop it into the chat, and within reasonable amount of time, but usually a lot faster than you would think, they're getting back to you. But that alone, like you could sit there and you could compare features across the board, but like you're not going to get this type of customer service anywhere else. And that is super important for any size operation, because listen, I'm going to say it again, I'm a small operation. I'm very needy. I'm that kind of person, but they're always there for me, and they're super nice about it. And I love the relationship I have with the folks at Goodshuffle. It's really helpful, to have that when I need it. So I just had to chime in and agree with everybody.
And we have a chat feature on our website, and like sometimes I'm in the shower answering it. I mean, so I can only imagine, because these guys answer all the time. I'm thinking, what are they doing?
I mean, the love goes both ways. Y'all are so awesome. And I think we just truly appreciate being able to partner with you. I mean, we're not the company that's here's your software, here's your implementation package, good luck. We're really here to help you succeed, and being able to work with customers year over year and watch companies, double or quadruple in growth, like over the course of time. I mean, we're talking about these, time-saving features, and we're shaving minutes off here and helping team communication there. But ultimately, all of these things are going into helping you achieve your bigger goals. And of course, we love the love, but we really appreciate the ability to have you guys trusting us with your business. And any kind of final last-minute thoughts, pieces of advice as people are shopping for software, just kind of in 30 seconds, what you would recommend to those on the line as they're evaluating?
My probably 30-second period is we decided to take like our downtime, which I know for everyone is different, but ours is the winter time being in the Northeast. And we just did everything at once. Like we completely re-inventoried our warehouse. We switched our software system. We updated our catalog and our website. It was a crazy 4 months, but like even take away the catalog and website aspect of it, taking the time to connect your inventory with Goodshuffle and having it completely right will change your game. Because like when we'd have stuff missing before, it was so difficult to like then get it out of inventory. It was so fulfillment screen. Goodshuffle has it. I can very easily decide, I know for all my stuff going up, I don't have it anymore, and I can immediately start making adjustments. And it's just, there's so many good positives to it, but it's really, if you like take the demo and like take a time to like look and see, and like just even take some time to play around with it, you'll really see that like it will instantly, it takes time, because we went from being like not digital at all to like very digital in a very short amount of time, and everyone needs that at a different rate. But it will really like change your game and like how you're doing business and how effectively you're doing business.
Want to go ahead, Jeff?
Eddie, no, yeah, I'll go ahead. So first of all, I am more than welcome to answer anybody's questions about other software. I swear I've done every single demo for everyone in the world. There are a couple, I will say, that are on the higher end that are just expensive, and they don't obviously fit our guidelines for what we're looking for, and they probably do a lot more than what we've seen in the past. However, if anybody wants to reach out to me directly and just shoot me an email asking about a specific software and whether or not it does what you want, I swear I've seen everything. So number one, happy to help anybody that may be looking. we settled in on Goodshuffle for really a multitude of reasons. It seemed beforehand that we would settle because it did one thing great or another thing. But I can honestly say that we haven't really found anything that it doesn't do well. And if Mallory had $1 for every time she said, oh, we do that too, she'd probably be a millionaire, because there were a lot of things that we needed specifically. As everybody knows, every event industry or every event company is different. And there were some things that were like, we got to have this. And I mean, it was like immediate, we do that. So, definitely look into the demo. And if there's any questions, of course, I can help you answer that Mallory can't. I'm more than willing to help. But yeah, stop your search. You've reached it right here.
So real simple for me, the amount of time I saved in getting, from proposal to contract was huge. And something we didn't really talk about is just how easy, it can take a long time if you have, a ton of SKUs like Jeff. If you're like me and my inventory, I have a smaller inventory, but there are plenty of times where I just need to add a new piece quickly, or I kind of make, I make up a new product on the fly. We sometimes come up with activities or things that we just kind of make up. There's a whole custom feature. I can just add it in there and shoot a proposal off real quick. I can add some pictures, and it's just so simple and fast. Whereas with my old software, in order to add it in, it just wasn't easy and quick. So I've been able to just kind of, make up, new inventory very quickly, and add it in and send a proposal off and get a signature back. And so for me, I hate, I keep coming back to the money aspect, but it was just to get someone from proposal to contract was so fast. And to then the ease of collecting, via credit card using Stripe or whatever it was just so great for me. So just the simplicity of that. But again, knowing I have a lot, this software is growing a lot faster than me, and I'm not going to outgrow it right now. So that's comforting to know that I won't have to switch. You get that feeling sometimes that you're like, I'm going to outgrow this software one day. I definitely don't get that feeling with Goodshuffle. So I'm looking forward to being able to grow and utilize more of the features that Jeff and Shelby are talking about.
We can't wait to grow with you. This is awesome. I so appreciate y'all's time today. I know we are all going in wild directions. Nick is camping out in the car, only quiet spot in the house, which I can relate to a little bit. And Shelby and Jeff, thank you guys for joining as well. I am gonna switch gears here and talk through some of those time-saving features, ease of use features with a quick demo. But thanks again, guys. I'll let y'all jump off. We won't eat up any more of your time.
Thank you, Mallory. Thank you, team. Bye. Bye, Shelby and Jeff.
Yeah.
Thanks. For those of you who are interested, I am going to hop into a quick demo here right away. So any of the features that you wanted to take a look at more closely, everything that Jeff and Shelby and Nick covered, I'm gonna breeze through in a quick demo. Feel free to chat in any questions, or if there's something that you want to see in particular. If now isn't a great time, no problem at all. You've got my email here and the ability for us to keep in touch as well. So thanks so much for joining us today, participating in our Q&A. And if you want to get connected with Nick, Shelby, or Jeff, please shoot me an email and I am happy to facilitate that introduction. Otherwise, let's go ahead and jump in and I can show you our Goodshuffle Pro platform. So I'm going to pull up my screen here and we're going to start out on our project page today. Pull this up. Perfect. If you can see my screen, go ahead and chat me so that I know that we shift gears okay. My event screen here, my project screen, is going to show me everything that I need to know about the status of my events in Goodshuffle. I can easily sort the screen to follow up on a quote that I've sent to a client, right? Easily sort this list by my event start date and see the last time I sent the client an updated quote, followed up with a check-in message, and even when the client opened that message. Nick was also talking a lot about getting paid faster. And so hopping into my signed contracts here and taking a look at this billing status, who still owes me money, is something that I can access at the click of a button. This screen is configurable in almost an unlimited amount of ways. I mean, from sales and fulfillment information to billing, you can set up this screen with the event that makes the most sense to you. Taking a look at a particular project in Goodshuffle, remember project is just our term for event or job or order. You're going to have everything that you need related to your events inside Goodshuffle Pro. So no more clicking around into, external hard drives or, calendars, like getting more information from your CRMs. All of that is going to be accessible directly in Goodshuffle. And you'll see this is acting as almost a digital file folder where you can have each stage of your planning process in here. Now, one of the things that is so important as you're looking at different softwares is to determine how easy the platform is to use, how intuitive it is. Our panelists on today talked a lot about how it wasn't just easy for them, for owner operators, but for their teams to know and use as well. And we're doing even little things here and there, right? If I wanted to know more about my business, Perfect Planners, there's not a button that exists that says, hey, here's more information. It's just a hyperlink, right? You know how this functions. If I click in here, I get more information. And of course, we've got all the basic details of this company, Perfect Planners, but I'm also able to go down here and set up special terms and conditions, payment policies. I can even have notes on my particular company here. I can see my relationship with multiple contacts from this screen. So perhaps at a company, you may work on nonprofit events with a certain contact and internal team trainings with another, or for my Perfect Planning agency, right? This may be a list of all of my different brides. I can, of course, see all of the events that we've ever done together, a snapshot of their billing, and even any related files. This is a great place to store things like a client's tax exempt certificate, or maybe their logo if they're a client that you work with often. All of that stuff, again, you're eliminating your Google Drives, your Dropbox accounts to bring that information into Goodshuffle Pro. That same level of detail is available on my contacts and venues as well. So for my crew, my warehouse guys, if they're delivering to a venue and they need to see, hey, what kind of event space is this? I can see, oh, this is a historic building. There's narrower doorways here. And on the files tab, I could store things like a ground plan or a certificate of insurance that they may need to work there. As I've put my quote together, you can configure this in a lot of different ways. We call them line item groups, and that's just a nice way to kind of put a bow on a grouping of items together, depending on how you're putting your quotes together. So you can see here for Olivia's dream wedding that I put together, I've got my items for the ceremony happening at 4 p.m. in the garden, and then my 6 p.m. Reception is what this should say, happening in ballroom B. It's super easy for me to go in here, change the names, make any edits as I need to. And then of course, these line item groups, as they're called, contain all of my information that I'm going to send to the client. This allows me to easily determine if I have any conflicts, so I'm not overbooking myself. I just click into my little caution button here, and I can see, okay, this is conflicting with 2 other events. But with my color coding, I happen to know that these are both just in the quote sent phase. And so Goodshuffle Pro isn't stopping me from adding this to an order and moving forward, but it is giving me all the information that I need with the click of a button to determine if this is something I want to do, right? Either of these events, I can see where my conflict lies, but I can also, with the click of a button, open these other events, see who my client is on that, be able to see the contract total, click into messages and determine when is the last time I heard from the client. Or for those with a bigger sales team, click into my team and see who the sales lead is on the project. Again, we're not going to tell you what to do. That is up to you and your team to make the best decision for your business. We're just giving you all the available information at the click of a button to make that decision. We also talked in our panel today about how flexible our packages are. So you can see here that I have my 2020 tent package for my ceremony, and this contains all the parts and pieces that my guys in the back need to make this tent happen. But when I go into the client view, that's actually not something that the client is going to see, right? When I see my 20 by 20 tent here, the client will know that they've been charged some additional for these sidewalls, but the actual parts and pieces, the stakes, straps, and tent tops are not showing in the client view. We also have these great clickable, scrollable galleries so that if I want to be able to tell my clients and show them what these different place settings look like, or perhaps for any of you AV companies, what lighting in a particular venue looks like, you can show these off to your clients. The packages in Goodshuffle are super flexible, and from what we're hearing, some of the most flexible, if not the most flexible in the industry. You're able to rename your packages, reprice them, provide line item discounts, or even swap out different pieces. So it's a huge time saver on the front end because you can dump a bunch of items on at once. But if you need to make a bunch of tweaks, you have that ability to do so as well. And it's only going to make that change for a particular event. It's not going to affect what you have at the inventory level. I'm going to go ahead and walk through the client experience really quick. All I've got to do is send this off to the client. Goodshuffle is going to ask me to double check my details here. And then of course I can drop in a custom message to my client, Olivia. Now, as I get my email up and running to pull up my quote, you'll see that we've gone from yellow, indicating a new event, to blue, indicating that I've sent that quote off to the client. So we're so visually driven. We want you to have the access to the priority information that you need very, very quickly. As I pull up my email, you'll see that we have a new quote today from my fake event company, Event Masters. And this, of course, is my fake company. This will be coming from your company with your logo and branding here. And then, of course, our message to the client down below. Now you have the option to include a PDF attachment, but Nick talked a lot about how easy our online system is for your clients to review the quote, sign the contract, and pay online. As I mentioned previously, 50% of contracts sent through Goodshuffle Pro are signed and deposits paid within 5 minutes. This is because the quotes give a lot of clarity to the client, right? They're not seeing any information that's gonna cause them confusion or need to ask a bunch of follow-up questions. They're also able to click in right off the bat and understand what it is you're bringing to the event site by utilizing those package photos that act like a kind of scoped Pinterest board. And then also, if you want to provide that clarity of what's included, those line items without line iteming and detailing out every single cost. Now, I know that clients may have a couple questions, but you'll see it's so easy to just approve, read through your custom terms and conditions, payment policies, and then sign the contract. Now, keep in mind that this is all mobile friendly. Again, helping those clients sign their contracts faster. A client now doesn't have to, be at their desktop computer, print anything out, scan it back in, and go through that whole runaround. They can pull this up on their mobile device, type in their name, sign the contract, and make the deposit on the fly. Now I have this set up, I think, to be a 20% deposit. Keep in mind that's completely customized, whether you're doing a percentage of order, flat fee, or net terms. When I go to enter my totally legitimate credit card information here, you'll see I had the option to pass along those processing fees to the client. We know that varies a little bit state by state, but you have that option and ability to do that within Goodshuffle, and can even change it from client to client. Your clients can also opt in to auto pay their balance, a great feature for those forgetful clients. And if they want to keep the card on file, they have that option as well. Now, one of the things that I love for those, especially working with brides, where they may need to kind of break things up in weird payment schedules, or kind of, as payday hits, we're going to chip away at the remaining balance. This is a live payment link. So your clients can go in here and edit the amount that they're going to pay incrementally, so that if they need to make additional payments, they can return to this payment link anytime and make those additional payments here. Now, once those payments have been processed, we'll go ahead and jump back into the event itself, and I'll show you that we are now at our green contract sign phase. And in my billing tab here, both of my payments have automatically been captured. Now, one of our great features with the online credit card payments is the ability to securely store that credit card data on a per event basis. Now, this is important because I know so many companies are actually still keeping like a paper copy of a credit card authorization form on file. And this is a huge security risk for your company. And not only that, it really can cause your rates to vary as you're charging the card. And so Goodshuffle is completely eliminating that by bringing that all within the event itself. And so whether I'm going to spell out in my terms and conditions, hey, if you haven't paid your deposit within 48 hours, we're going to charge your card on file. Or, the groomsmen get a little rowdy at the reception and break some plates, and I've got to charge for those on the back end. You have access to that card on file. You can, of course, record offline payments like checks, Venmo payments, Cash App payments, things like that as well. And all of that information will be stored here in Goodshuffle, and automatic payment reminders will go out when payments are due. The fulfillment tab is something that provides a ton of clarity to your crews, your drivers, and your warehouse teams. We do have two different types of users in Goodshuffle Pro. Full users like your salespeople, your account managers, you as an owner-operator are going to have access to all 5 tabs across the top here. But your limited users are really going to be scoped to this fulfillment tab, also see any related files. But you can see we're not sharing any of that pricing information, right? We're keeping them focused on the logistics, on the details that they need most. And so whether that's tracking notes on the setup here, like center aisle with 10 chairs per row, or even managing the ability to bring in certain items from a sub vendor, right? If I've got a conflict here, I may come call up my friend Piper, and she may provide these by dropping them off at my warehouse on July 1st. All of that logistical detail is here. You can even have preset notes to add automatically on your contracts as well. You have the ability to print out your digital pull sheets. Those have the photos on them. So if you want to keep it old school and be able to give that printed out for your warehouse team, know that those are going to automatically generate and update for you. But I really love the ability to have the digital version here. And this is because it's going to give really good team clarity on what's happening when, right? I can easily go in here, check off when things are loaded, dropped off, and picked up. remember that these can be customized as well. So if you wanted to track, approved by client, in production, staged and ready to load, you can do that too. It is all customizable in Goodshuffle Pro. Right within the event, I can drag and drop additional materials here. We'll auto save each version of the contract, but remember whether that's ground plans or table setups, or even your crew dropping in photos of what the event site looked like set up. All of that is just a simple drag and drop here. Your crews in the field can even upload photos here from their mobile devices as well. And then all of the changes are tracked here. So this is great for not only providing that team clarity in demo mode. I'm DJ Tanner, the planner, so doing all of the heavy lifting here myself, but we're also tracking when your clients are interacting. And that's really important because I hear so often from our rockstar vendors, we go above and beyond for our clients. Occasionally, there is the moment where the client forgets to pass some information along, right? Think about a time when you maybe showed up to an event site. It was a gala, let's say, and you had brought 300 chairs. The client thought you were bringing 500 chairs. You'd have the ability to go back and see, okay, when did this get updated? When did the client sign off on it? So that you can still be the hero, right? You can still make that extra trip to the warehouse or call a friend to sub-rent some extras, but you're now not having to eat the cost on those because the client had already approved that change. You can go ahead and charge the client for the items they've actually ordered. My team management is happening here. I can control everyone that is assigned to this event, what crew actually sees and has access to this information. My task list gives me the availability to either set reminders for myself or out to my team so that nothing is forgotten on their end. And then we're going to track your messages both with your team, providing almost like a dedicated Slack channel, or with your emails with your clients, right? So you're not having to waste time filing all those emails in your inbox. You're able to just securely and easily track those emails back and forth with your clients in Goodshuffle Pro. And that's really the front to back end of events in Goodshuffle. It is super easy to manage your events, keep hold of all of that information within the system. Of course, this is just scratching the surface of the functionality of Goodshuffle Pro. I'd love the ability to answer any of your questions one-on-one. You can set up a time with me anytime at pro.goodshuffle.com/demo, or if you want to shoot me an email message directly, my email is mallory@goodshuffle.com. Thanks so much again for your time today. I really appreciate everyone tuning in. Please stay safe and stay well, and I look forward to connecting with you in the near future. Bye.